Basically, what we want to do today is dividing the life cycle of the company in different stages. So Errol, let's start with the inception of of the product. We are back a number of years ago. It was the time in which social media was starting to become relevant. So what happened at that time and how did the idea came up?
Yeah, so I think a very interesting story about the founding of Crimson Hexagon, which came out of Harvard University, and Gary King, who's the head of quantitative science, social quantitative science, was being requested. He's a very well-known expert in the area. Was being asked what type of capabilities could be drawn to use NLP, natural language processing, to understand large volumes of unstructured data. The real big, I'd say, draw from big brands at the time was that they were losing control of the conversation about their own brand in the public domain. So anytime someone had some kind of a gripe or some kind of complaint, they would tweet it or post it or show a picture of something, and all of a sudden it was taking off. And that was a very big disruptive movement, where brands were used to just putting a commercial out in an ad, and they were sort of dominating the message. So what happened in the early days was that, and the way we describe it, is that we had a really big solution, a very complex, not complex, but I would say hard to understand solution to a small problem. The small problem was that brands wanted to get a handle on the social channel, like what was being said, what was happening, and having people that were capable in these teams, marketing teams, being able to understand queries and Boolean, and being able to leverage the advanced technology was still in its early days. So I think the lesson learned, and probably relearned by many people out there, is that you have a technology solution that is potentially a little more advanced than the buyers and the users are capable of being able to utilize. So you spend time in the early days trying to make it easy to use for the people who do understand it. So those were, for us, analytical users. You can say not quite data scientists, but people who felt comfortable setting up Boolean and queries and being able to uncover information. And then making it easier and easier so that you could really gain some momentum and in the early days of traction.
So how did this transition from getting to work with everybody to try to nail down the use case did really happen? Was like an immediate transition, or it took some time?
The thing when you start to know you're getting into the next stage is you're starting to understand your customer a little bit. You're looking at your growth and your metrics, and you're saying, okay, how do we really identify the user personas and the buyers of the current solution that you have, and how can we expand that and operationalize it? I think that's really the big focus in that second stage. That second stage is usually a little more product driven versus technology driven. And the subtle difference between the two is that when you get product driven, you're really trying to synthesize the information from the people who have been buying your product and their user personas, and really trying to capture that and make it so that you can operationalize it as a company to sell that again and again. So it's a maturity level, and for us, what that meant was making the product a little bit easier out of the box. So your time to insight, because of the technology, was quicker, because now we understood what you were trying to get at.
Now the company wants to grow even more, and new investors comes in, and this is the moment in which it wants to make a name for itself and go to the next steps. Maybe like 50, 60, 100 millions.
At this point, you have been successful. in being able to get some repeatable, you built up a good customer base and recurring. You have that feedback now from your customer base that are telling you, here's the new things that they want. So you've got that big, wealth of information. You also, are now trying to be able to create efficiencies of operations, right? How do you enable and really be able to get a good message clear across to all your customer base as you're adding new innovations and as you're layering on new products? Because what you're trying to do at this point, especially in the enterprise B2B space, is you're trying to have a platform solution. So you go from being a product that's maybe used within a department or maybe by a few people to really trying to own some aspect of the business and or interoperate with their existing systems. Because scaling is all about, three things: scaling your users, scaling your customers, and scaling your partners.